am live here with Becky. Hi, Becky.
Hi.
It's so good to see you today. I'm so excited to get to chit chat with you. I wish that you were here in person so I could hug your neck. I think you're such a special person. So I just want to introduce my audience today. Welcome first to Taming the Chaos of Entrepreneurship. For those of you guys that are joining us for the first time, I decided to start this because I figured out really quick that being an entrepreneur can be a lonely road. And I found out, though, there's a whole lot of people out here on that same road that understand what you're going through. And so I decided, hey, let's start having some conversations about these things. So I love to have a new podcast guest every single week, and I get to ask all the questions and dig into their lives. And we are so blessed to get all those answers. So today I have Becky Hilty, who lives up in Wyoming. Well, she says different words. We were just talking right before our call about some different words there. I was like, we don't use that word here. So yeah, Wyoming. So excited to have you here. She is a entrepreneur. Her and her husband. It says that she's wife to an adventurous entrepreneur. And I know some of you out there understand that. So what is that? What did that mean, Becky? Wife of an adventurous entrepreneur.
His brain never sleeps to the next greatest possible adventure. So,
Some of you watching, you are married to that person, and some of you are that person. So we're going to talk to both of you today. I have to admit, I'm sometimes that person. So Becky also is a homeschool mom. She runs a drive-through coffee business. She coaches women and she mentors teen girls. And we're just excited to have you here. She's a sweet mom. She's learned how to stay grounded. Here's what her statement says. She's learned how to stay grounded in the chaos. And I think there's a lot of moms right now that are just moms or entrepreneur moms that are trying to figure that out. And so when I put out the call, I felt like I wanted to talk about mom guilt. So I put out the call and Becky volunteered and I was like, yes, you're the perfect person. I've met her kids. She has sweet kids. Her kids, some people don't have, some people have mom guilt and they should because their kids are totally terrors. Okay. But this is not, I shouldn't have said that. Can we edit that out? But Becky, I've met your kids and they're sweet. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say today. So if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, say something that I didn't just read about you. Tell us something fun about yourself.
something fun about myself. Well, I like to think of myself. Well, I'll tell you this. I always wanted to be a boy mom, but God blessed me with 3 girls and only 1 boy. And so I have a lot of girl drama in our house, and I don't do drama well. And so I'm just learning. The fun thing about me is I just kind of roll with it, and I try to be the fun mom instead of the drama-filled mom.
Yes, I love it. That's so good. Okay, we're talking about entrepreneurship. Here's one of my questions I ask everybody. What has been a bad day in entrepreneurship for you?
Uh, well, actually, I would have said probably just recently, in the last couple of months was probably a bad day when I got to the end. Well, not even the end, but probably entering into the fourth quarter of 2024. And I realized, we weren't doing great because I'm a people pleaser. I'm a recovering people pleaser. And, one of the things with the coffee business is I mean, people will complain that like you might have great coffee, but if they have to pay too much, they won't want to come back, right? And so then they'll substitute great coffee or poor coffee. They'll have poor coffee because it's a better price. And so I love my customers and I love people coming, but I was realizing, hey, I'm not making enough profit here to make this sustainable. And if I don't do something to change, we'll have to close our doors or sell or something. And so I did the hard thing and raised my prices dramatically at the end of 2024. And it didn't bite me as bad as I thought it was going to.
Yep.
But
Yep.
that was a bad day, was looking at the books.
Yep. That's so good. We just stumbled on this, but you're in my territory. So let's talk about pricing for a second, because I'm like you. I want people to like me. I just do. I don't know. I'm recovering too. I don't know if I'll ever recover because I just like people to like me. And so it's really hard when you're talking about pricing, but we cannot determine pricing based on whether we like somebody or whether we want them to like us or not, it
Mm-hmm.
has to be about numbers. And it's really, really
Mm-hmm.
hard for people like me and you to totally take ourselves out of the equation and to just look at the numbers and to make the pricing from there. So
Mm-hmm.
I raised my prices this year too. And really everybody needs to. It's just, and I would tell my clients too, like you need to be looking at raising your prices because everything's changed. Everything's more
Mm-hmm.
expensive. So as a business owner, you need to. If you're not, then you're way behind. And because
Mm-hmm.
if you go to McDonald's, we can't buy a 99-cent hamburger anymore. Like, just raise your prices, even if it's just a little bit, 5%. What did you do? Do you know? Did you do like an across the board percentage?
Yeah. So I actually raised my prices by 18%, which
Holy,
was pretty huge. But it was interesting because I wasn't going to, but I did like several drafts. Like I had several drafts of different percentages. And it was interesting. My husband, who is a wonderful entrepreneur and has helped me so much in entrepreneurship, he said, which one, like if you take emotion out of it, which one is going to help you be sustainable and then you won't have to raise your prices again in another year?
oh,
And
that's good.
so I went with it was a higher one. It wasn't the highest one, but it was a higher one. And I felt like I can sustain this for a while.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's good. So 18% on $5. I'm just gonna do $5 is 90 cents. So
Yep, that's about right.
when you put it in perspective, like, okay, like that's normal. That's what I would expect as a consumer to go and be. So I raised my prices this year 5%. And
Mm,
my plan is just to kind of stick with that 5% across the board and
mm-hmm,
every year. Well, um, I knew that there was a couple of clients that came on at the very beginning that they cared more about the price than about the value. And so
mm,
I knew that there was a good chance that they would be leaving. One of them I raised, they went from $1,200 to $1,289. So I raised it
mm.
$89. Now, in retrospect, I talked to my coach about it a few weeks later. I should have talked to my coach first. I know. Don't judge me. I talked to my coach about it later and she's like, Penny, if you had asked me, I would have told you to raise it 250. Like just make it something substantial or don't do it at all. And because
Mm-hmm,
this person decided to leave over $89. And
mm-hmm.
truth be told, it's a relief that that person decided to leave. They were not a ideal client for me. It wasn't just that right fit, but man, raising prices is hard, especially when you're a people pleaser. And sometimes I think, now let's look at this from a female thing. Is this a female thing, Becky? Is this just because we like people, like our men? I feel like men can raise prices a lot easier than women can, and we get flack for it.
Yeah, I mean, for my husband, he very much compartmentalized, like he was able to take emotion completely out of it. And so, like, our slogan at our coffee drive-through business is where coffee and community come together. And one of the biggest things, and this is what he said to me, he's like, you will not lose people because one of your biggest things that you pride yourself on is people pull up to the window, your regulars, and you're basically handing the drink out to them because you've seen them in the line. Like the girls have seen them in the line, are
Right.
already starting to make their drink.
Yeah.
And he's like, your customers that like that service won't care if you raise your price $1 or $1.50. So because they are all about what you provide for them that way. And so he said, if you want to put emotion into it, that's what you can. But he said, leave emotion out of it. And this was interesting too, because he said, the reality is that you've waited to when I looked at the books and I realized what I had done, now I'm still playing catch up, right?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
6 months later, I'm
And
still
I
playing
was
catch
too,
up.
because that client I had way underpriced. So I was trying to catch
Yeah.
up, but I should have caught up like in bigger chunks. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he was like, you would have been better off like every year raising your prices, leaving emotion out of it. But this was only the second time I've ever raised our prices in 5 years. And so like I felt like it was pretty good because I feel like the last 4 years have been kind of disastrous in the American finances and financial world. And then like we're trying to make it go because everybody's hurting, right? But I can't my philosophy is like he was like, if you take emotion out of it, you're actually caring more about your workers who you're trying to like give a job to versus like your clients who need to pay, are paying
Right.
you.
Yeah. That's so good. So true. And I mean, you can be emotional all day long, but you won't be in business in 6 months or a year if you don't do
Exactly.
it. And
Exactly.
so, like,
Yeah.
it's really tough when we have those tough numbers conversations. It's like, "Ah," and then you just need to get you a good marketing person on there to spin it in a
Yeah.
positive way.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
you're so right, the value's there. And somebody that values your client, your customer, values your business or your service, they'll pay it. It's not a big deal.
Hmm.
And I have vendors in my life that I will pay. They
Hmm.
raise their prices on me and I pay. So I just so good. That was such a good little illustration. That was a little bonus because now we're going to talk about being a mom in business. So I want you to talk to us about mom guilt and tell me how old your kids are.
So I have my first teenager as of January this year.
Yes.
And then I have a boy. Our boy is 11. We have another girl that is 9, and then our youngest, she will be turning 7 here in May.
And have you always been involved in the businesses, or was there a time where you were home with the kids more and you changed?
So when we moved to Wyoming, I was my husband's secretary when he did construction and he did the garage door. And then as I was pregnant with our third, I along with my husband, recognized that something always got missed. So either like my role as a wife, my role as a mom, or my role as a secretary, I couldn't do all three in a day, and so something was always missing. And so when I was about ready to have my third, we hired his first outside secretary for his business, and it was probably the best decision we ever made for our marriage and
Yeah.
also for his business. So there was a period where like I was definitely more a full-time mom. And then as my children got older, and then there was a span of a couple years where three of mine were in from kindergarten to fourth grade were in school. And so I felt like I had time to invest into this business. And so then I stepped back into being a business owner.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. So so you kind of alluded to this, the feeling of the choice that you have to choose between
Mm,
either being a great mom or being a great wife. Let's put that into the equation, or being a great business owner or entrepreneur.
yeah.
How do we balance those? Is it possible to be great at everything, or is something going to go by the, and what's funny is like, okay, when we talk about being a great wife, like that means also taking care of me, my health,
Hmm.
my spirit, my soul, taking care of me in every way. And being a good mom requires that. But it's like pressure to take care of everything all at the same time. Like
Hmm.
something's going to give, right?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it for me also plays in like even now is realizing like, hey, I can't please everyone. And so I have really started to like prioritize uh, giving different roles to different people in my life. So we hired a manager in my coffee business so she can do the day to day. So during the day to day, like now that I homeschool, like I know the day to day is being taken care of and I can 100% be focused on my children for those 5 hours that we homeschool. And it's become like, even I think as being an entrepreneur family, that's what I love to call it, because our children are involved and we're teaching our children responsibility by doing like they have a set amount of chores that they have to do every day and they have to like contribute into the family. And so this also like it helps me just be able to balance life, right? They're all older and I get it. Like sometimes we have entrepreneur families that have younger children, but like my youngest, she kind of grew up. I mean, she's grown up with me kind of always being involved, like in the coffee business. And even my business partner, which is my sister-in-law, she brings her 2 and 1 year old to work to the coffee hut. And we just like let them be involved, like how they are and have fun with it. I think if you can have fun with it, even in the stress of it, it like you see a difference of it.
That's good, involving the kids. Becky, I know that you're pretty involved with Rise Up Kings and Rise Up Queens, and you get to
Hmm.
go and be with all these other amazing women all the time, and I know a lot of them are entrepreneurial businesswomen and stuff. Are you ever tempted to play the comparison game?
Tempted, yes, but I have found that it doesn't really work. I mean, I think legitimately, if we're honest, we're always tempted, right? Like, what are they doing and why does it look like they're achieving? But I think when we start playing the comparison game, it's a lot like social media. You only post the good stuff. So they're like talking about all their wins, and like we don't sit around and talking about like necessarily all our bad things, because some that could get depressing, right? That's one reason I hate social media so much
Right.
is because I
Yes.
feel like it's like this fake thing. But I think if we did sit down, and the true friends I have that I have talked about the bad things of business, like it's been an uplifting conversation because it ends up being like, oh well, I could learn from this, right? But yeah, I think I try not to play the comparison game because how we're doing is different than how somebody else is doing, but we're probably doing something better than somebody else.
Yeah, yes. You're doing better or worse than somebody else, and who cares? We're all on our same path, all on
Yeah.
our individual paths. We weren't called to walk the same path, and it's really easy
Hmm.
in social media. I share a lot on social media, and people see me all the time, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're doing so great!" And I want to be like, ask me how I'm doing. Like, if you just ask me, I'll tell you for real. And so, I mean, because social media is not for that. But would you follow me if
Hmm.
I got on there and told you that, hey, I woke up feeling kind of sucky today and I don't really want to face the world. And I
Right.
decided, this isn't really fun. I'm not having fun. And you know what I'm saying? Like, nobody's going to follow that person. So,
Hmm.
and so you just can't. Now, there's times where I'm a little more, vulnerable on social media than others, but people get this false sense of like everything's hunky dory and everything is not hunky dory. I can tell you that much right now. And I get people all the time because I do people's finances. They call me and they're like, Penny, I'm so sorry. You're going to be so horrified when you see my finances. It's the worst thing you've ever seen. And I'm like, if we're going to play the comparison game, yours is not the worst I've ever seen. Like, I've seen bad.
Hmm.
And yours isn't even that
Hmm.
bad. And so sometimes we play the comparison game and it's actually better than you actually are doing better than you thought you were doing. And so,
Hmm.
although we still don't want to play that comparison game because don't do it. Just don't do it. Has there been any, like you kind of talked about this, but tell me about rhythms and habits that you guys have created so you're present with your kids and present in your business when it's time.
Yeah, so we've just made sure. So I want to say this, that if you're an entrepreneur mom or dad, and you live in an entrepreneur household, I want to say that, we all know that life can change in an instant. Like you can have your whole day planned and then something happens, throws a wrench into the thing. But I invested in this calendar. It's called, oh, shoot. I'll have to send it to you. Maybe you can link
Okay.
it to your
We
thing.
can we can
But it's a
link to it
cal.
in the comments. Yeah.
Yes, sure. So it's a calendar that literally has, you can list all the family's chores. You can do a calendar on there so you can see the outline. You can do meal planning. You can do to-do list. It has been a game changer in our house for the last 6 months to a year that we've had it. And it's been wonderful because like the children get so when the children do all their chores for the day, it like celebrates them by like throwing confetti on the screen, right? And so they love it.
Uh-huh.
um but it's also helping them learn because if they don't do a chore, it goes on to the next day, right? And so then
Oh,
they
that's
have
how my
more
to-do
things.
list works.
Well, again, so it's teaching them, hey, like I need to cross this off, the importance of it. But then they can also like flip to the calendar and they can see like, hey, mom or dad is really busy today, or this is going to be a really busy day. And so like just like planning your day to the best of your ability, because I understand that things can like throw like wrenches happen in your day. But one of the best advice that my husband gave me when I started being an owner of the coffee business, he said, at least sit down and write how you want your day to go, because he's like, if it gets off track, you know how to put it back on track once you can get there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so good. You're going to have to tell me what it is. I'm so excited to hear. Do you guys have any boundaries?
Yeah, so that's been a great conversation for us. So we used to not have boundaries. Both of us would just kind of like do everything for everybody. I think that's the like at the heart of who an entrepreneur is. Like they want to help people succeed and to be better. And I especially like I see this in a lot in like Christian entrepreneurs. Like uh, we tend to like put everybody else first except ourselves and our families,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You see it a lot in ministry,
Yeah.
right? And so one of the things we've committed to in the last 3 years, especially since our journey with being with the organization Rise Up Kings and Queens, is like we bring our family on in our ministry, and our work is our ministry. So we use our work as a ways to meet people and to introduce them to the Lord, and just have that as a pinpoint. And so we invite our children in on that, but we make sure that we always have one date night a week for our husband, and it's a non-negotiable. I mean, we've just established that pretty solidly. So like if something else comes up on that night, like
What's that
the
look
other,
like? Some people hear that and they're like, there's no way. There's absolutely no way. Talk to that, Becky. What does it look
okay,
like?
so
Is it
this
amazing
is
every
interesting.
week? Does your husband
Uh,
plan something elaborate every week?
so we go to the same restaurant every week. Same restaurant. They know us. They have a table reserved for us, and we walk in, and our drinks are on the
They're
table.
business owners. They're making decisions all day long. They don't want to make a decision
Yeah.
about dinner. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so that's pretty easy. But like last week was a great example because normally, so on Wednesday, it's on Wednesday nights for us because it's our best night because our kids have Bible club. All four of our kids are gone. It's the best babysitting. It's the cheapest babysitting we have. We take them off to Bible club, and we go out to eat for an hour and a half. And last week was interesting because it was spring break, so all the Bible clubs were closed, right? And on Thursday morning, my husband had to get up at 3 o'clock to go travel to Idaho for a delivery. And I was like, oh, we can just cancel. That's what I said, people
The
pleaser,
non-negotiable.
right? Yeah. And that's exactly what he said. He said it's non-negotiable, but he said I'm willing to open for compromise. So we just moved it up.
That's
So
good.
like we just
Yeah.
we just moved it up, and then like everyone got to bed early, he got to bed early, and we only went out to dinner for like 45 minutes versus like our normal hour and a half. But it still like signifies, hey, our relationship's very important,
Yeah.
that we'll find a way to make it work.
Yeah, that's right. That's good. And I think for us, we have older kids, so we're definitely in the beautiful time of life where we just leave and we don't even care. They do their own thing. We don't even feed
Hmm.
them anymore. There's food in the house. Good luck. Um, for those people with younger kids, like sometimes it might look like, putting the kids to bed and having game night
Hmm.
in the living room, or just doing something to reconnect besides watching a TV show together,
Hmm.
something to connect and have a conversation with the human that is the closest person to you. And sometimes they get put at the very they get put at the very bottom of the priority list, especially when you're an entrepreneur or when you're a working mom.
Hmm.
All those things happen, and it somehow it just happens, and those are the people that say, I turned around and you're married to a stranger, and that's because
Yeah.
you just let that go on and on. It has to be non-negotiable. That's so good. Any other what about how has you talked a little bit about faith? So how do you balance faith at your business, like with your employees and your clients and
So
stuff?
yeah, so for us, like our coffee business, this is just a little example, but we're not open on Sundays,
I'm
and
totally
everybody
drinking
knows
tea
that.
while she's talking about coffee.
So we're not open on Sundays. And for
Oh,
like my
that's
husband,
awesome. Yeah.
um, they pray every morning before they start their day. So they gather all the workers together at 7:40 or at 6:45, 15 minutes before the day gets started, and they have a little like
Girl, you would
just
have to you would have to cover me in prayer if you wanted me to be at work at 6:45. I'm just
yep.
saying.
Yeah, and the guys they go over their day, and then they have a prayer with them, and then every Friday at my husband's work they have so Friday mornings they don't actually start work till like 8 or 8:30. I forget what it is, but they everybody's still at work at 6:45 because they have breakfast for them. So they make breakfast for them, and then they have like a teaching lesson just about business and like self-help or something like that. And then sometimes they open it up to like playing a game of cornhole, whatever. So it's kind of a fun morning. And in that self-teaching though, we have a pastor that, well, he's an ex-pastor. He's not a pastor anymore, but sometimes he brings a message, and so he brings a biblical message, and it's really great. And I would say probably my husband's business, 60% of them probably do not go to church. That's the only church they get.
Really?
And they actually really love it, because when they don't do it, like let's say my husband or my brother-in-law, they're in business together. If they're both gone for like a family thing and they decide not to do it, there's a lot of complaining. So it's interesting to me that they actually really enjoy that and they cling to that, even though they wouldn't be involved in church themselves.
That's so cool. You guys are so cool. That's awesome. You guys are lights. Do you guys talk about business over dinner? When do you stop? How do
So
you
that
stop
that
talking about it?
so that's actually a non-negotiable too. On our dates, we don't talk about the children, or we don't talk about our business. We talk about each other. So any other time is free game to talk about business or the children. But that one night a week is just about us and how we can grow together.
I love it. We talk about God's grace. We just talk about grace and then how it covers all the things.
Yeah.
Where's it, we're not going to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Moms are not perfect. And sometimes I've had to tell my kids that, hey, this is the first time I've been a mom. Like, there's not a manual. I don't know if I'm getting this, especially as in those teenage years when we've kind of disagreed about something.
Mm-hmm.
We have a rule of mutual respect. So I speak to them with respect. They speak to me with respect. We all respect each other. There's no yelling allowed in our house. And but I've confessed many times, I am new at this mom thing, even though I'm 18 years on. I'm new. You're my first oldest kid. I don't know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I feel like the Lord is leading us during this season, and I could be wrong, but I'm asking, and then I ask for that. And so I think there's just a lot of grace there's just a lot of grace, and moms, for some reason it's weird because men, I don't know that they carry the same amount of guilt about the kids being at home or the kids doing things on their own, or, like if I'm away from the kids all day, I start feeling guilty. I feel like, even though they're older, like I start feeling like like they need me. They don't even care,
Mm-hmm.
Becky. They haven't even noticed I'm gone. But my husband doesn't have those concerns. He doesn't feel that the same way that women do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that men feel different things. And so I think it's
Yeah, I
very,
think so too.
yeah, I think they feel differently. They don't necessarily say it, openly just acknowledge it or offer it to us. And sometimes, and I think that's what that date night is for. Like, let's get together and
Mm-hmm.
talk about those things because we can really lift
Mm-hmm.
each other up. So it's been so good to talk to you. What else you got? You got
Yeah.
something else?
Well, I was just going to say, you were talking about mom guilt versus the dad guilt. And like
Yeah.
in our relationship with Robert, what I've noticed is I think Robert feels more guilty about the things that he can't provide for his children because maybe we're in a tight spot with our business or personally, right? And I'm more guilty about the time,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like wanting to spend more time with my children. But I love that you said that, because that's in our household too. We just have an open dialogue. Hey, we messed up here. How could we make it better for you? Like, what do you need from us? Because I'm sure, as you know too, and having multiple children, every child is different and every child has a different personality. Because I have like some children that could care less it feels like they could care less if I'm there, 1 hour or 5 hours. And then I have others that, like, when I'm gone and I return, they're like clung to my hip. And so, like, I know that they need more time and
Yeah.
more attention. And so, like, that's just understanding that dynamic.
Yeah. That's good. And being attentive to that and listening
Yeah.
to the Holy Spirit, because we need the Holy Spirit to show us that stuff about our kids. Like, we
Yeah.
don't know. They're all different, and you're so right. Like, I don't know. I don't know how to
Yeah.
balm. You're my test subjects, my little lab rats. while I figure it out. And yeah, you're so right. We have a 14-year-old. Our 14-year-old, if we're gone for too long for a date night, he'll be like, "Are you guys coming home soon?" and of course we get home and he doesn't really care. It's just like he just needs us there, And
Hmm.
so of course he can take care of himself. So it's so true. It's so true. Being obedient to the Lord and just listening to your kids and seeing what they need. That's good. That's good. You and Robert, I wish you guys all the blessings in the
Oh, thank
universe. May the Lord bless you and keep you, cause his face to shine upon you. We are so blessed to have had you here today. Um, if anybody's in Wyoming, you need to, where in Wyoming? Where are y'all at?
We're an hour north of Cheyenne, so we're in a little
Okay.
town called Wheatland, Wyoming.
Wheatland. Wheatland. Is there wheat there?
Well, there is a lot of ag here, but
Okay.
I wouldn't say that there's an overabundance of wheat.
You're importing your coffee, I suppose.
Yes, we do import our coffee.
Well, good. Well, I won't be in Wyoming anytime soon, but I know that you'll be in the Dallas area again soon, and I'll get to see you
Yep.
soon. So it's been so nice to have you, Becky. I appreciate you. And you do coaching too, right?
Yes, I do.
So people can reach out if they happen to see this and you are like, I need to talk to Becky. I have all those issues and you need to do some coaching with her. She is available. How can people find you?
They can find me, they can email me. That's probably about the best.
Yeah.
They can just email me. It's at Becky Hilty at WBSWYO.com.
WBSWYO. What the heck does
.com.
that stand for?
So WBS stands for my husband's company, Western Building Supply, and WYO is the original way that the acronym or the abbreviation for the Wyoming state was
Oh,
WYO. And so we like the original vintage
uh-huh.
things in our household, so we go back to that, and then .com is just whatever. So, yep.
I love it. And I'll connect it also in the comments. But thanks, Becky. I appreciate it. You have a great
Yeah.
afternoon.
Okay, you too, Penny. Thank
Bye,
you.
Becky.
Bye.